Okay, we have one section left for chapter 16. We've spent chapter 16 so far looking at the plants. We have 4 major categories of plants, and it turns out a lot of plants have fungi associated with them. So we're going to finish up this chapter talking about fungus. What is a fungus? Fungi oftentimes are associated with the roots of plants under the soil, and what they do is they help the plants to sort of optimize absorption of things like minerals and water. So the fungus actually helps the plant to be more healthy. So let's just describe some of the key things about fungi. Fungi, again, they are not considered plants. They are their own unique organisms. And let me just get the screen in the proper view here. Okay, fungi. Fungi are eukaryotic. So they have organelles inside of their cells. They are eukaryotic. However, they are not plants. They do not photosynthesize. They're not capable of photosynthesis. Instead, they are heterotrophic. They have to absorb their nutrients by some other means other than photosynthesis. So say they're heterotrophs, just like us. And they are multicellular. Multicellular. Okay, so the fungi, this grouping of organisms, this includes familiar things. It includes things like mushrooms. It includes mushrooms. Also mold. Mold is a type of fungus. Mold like what grows on old bread or mold that grows in the shower. Mold is a type of fungus. And also yeast. If you bake, if you like to make yeast breads, yeast is a type of fungus. Okay, all fungi are considered to be decomposers. They decompose things. Decomposers. And the way that they decompose is it's kind of unusual. They actually secrete enzymes, digestive enzymes, into their surroundings, and the enzymes break down organic materials. And then what the fungus does is it reabsorbs the smaller pieces. It absorbs the nutrients from its surroundings. So they secrete, let's just write some of that down. They secrete digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes. And then they absorb and recycle chemical elements back to the environment. So they make those elements available again to the environment. Environment. There we go. Okay, so what is it that they are decomposing? That's kind of the general what they do. They secrete digestive enzymes, absorb the nutrients. What is it that they are actually digesting? What are they getting nutrients out of? This could include any number of things. They digest dead organisms, things that have died. So decomposers of dead organisms, that's one thing. That's a really important job, right? If fungi were not doing this, there would be a big buildup of carcasses, which would be very bad. So it's a very important job that they have, decomposing dead organisms. Also just things like fallen leaves, so leaves that come off of trees in the fall. Those have to get decomposed somehow. Fallen leaves, fungi help accomplish that. Feces would be another example, things that they decompose. And just sort of general, let's wrap this up with a general statement, any other sort of organic matter that they might encounter. Other organic matter that's not living. Okay. Alright, so fungi, aside from just doing this very useful job of decomposing things and recycling materials, they also have some other uses to humans. Some fungi are edible, just directly edible, right? We eat mushrooms, so they are actually a food source for us. Some are directly edible, such as mushrooms and truffles. Not chocolate truffles, but truffles that grow kind of like mushrooms. Okay, some of them, some fungi, we actually use to produce antibiotics. Excuse me. So if some fungi just naturally produce antibiotics as part of their own sort of self-defense mechanisms to prevent bacterial infections. But it turns out we can sort of use that fact. We can use fungi in order to produce antibiotics for us then to use. If we can collect the antibiotic and put it in like a pill form, they produce useful drugs for us. Such as penicillin. It's a perfect example of this. Penicillin is produced by a mold. And that mold is named Penicillium, which is why we call penicillin what we do. So antibiotic production and other drugs too. It's not just penicillin. So pharmaceuticals are a very useful thing for us to be able to have access to. And then others are used to produce food. So maybe we don't use them directly as food, but they're useful in the production of various food materials. We'll put a few examples down of this. Probably the most familiar one is we already mentioned yeast. Maybe we can add yeast to bread. Whoops. Get that back. Add yeast to bread. And that makes the bread rise. Also gives it a sort of distinctive flavor. We can use fungi to make cheese. How do we make cheese? It's made from milk. What is done is the milk is, a fungus is cultured in milk basically, and it ends up producing cheese as a result. So we can culture in milk to make cheese. And then one more example. Okay, fungi can be used to ferment alcoholic drinks, used to ferment beer and wine. All right, so a few familiar examples. There are many other examples as well. We'll come to some of these examples in lab.